Hey viewers, you might recognize my homebrew Cyclo-cross bike that I built in a few other videos. And my project today is to upgrade the drivetrain from 7-speed in the rear to 10-speed. This is going to involve replacing the cassette, the chain, the derailleur, and the shifters. And I think that's about it. So this should be a lot of fun. I'm going to start off by removing the chain. This chain is good for like 6, 7, 8 speed, but it's not good for 10 speed. 10 speed chain is skinnier. So here is the missing link that I installed to connect the chain. It's the master link. And basically you kind of connect the two little plates in and pull it apart to install it. Well, to remove it, I have to take these two little pivot points here and compress them together. I have a special wrench for that. If you don't have this wrench, you could probably use, maybe get some pliers or something and just kind of squeeze these together. But this little wrench here from Park Tool is really useful for doing this because it kind of fits right in there, squeeze them together, and then I can just pull this apart like that and remove the chain. Then I'll be replacing the rear derailleur, so I can cut the cable here and then just remove this like that. Pull that off. I have a brand new Shimano 105 derailleur, and this is good for 10 speed. And I'm going to install this. Just screw that on like this. There. Now I want to replace the cassette, so let me see, release the brake here, release this, drop this down. Now I'll remove the skewer like this, and then reattach this because I don't want to lose the spring. And I'm not like OSHA shop, so sometimes I like work in my bare feet. Okay, I need to remove this cassette here, so I got like a little cassette lock ring tool here. So I'll slide this in here, and then I need to hold the cassette from turning here while I go to remove that. So grab onto it here with my tool, my chain whip, and then I can unscrew this here like that and unscrew the lock ring like this, and then I should be able to just remove this whole cassette here as a unit. And then I don't want to forget the spacer here too. Okay, now I'm going to install the new cassette here. It's a 10-speed cassette, and sometimes you need a spacer. This is a 1mm spacer. Sometimes you need that down there for the cassette to fit on there properly. Otherwise, there'll be a little bit of a movement in there. But I tried it without this. Tried it with this, and it was just too tight. So I'm going to install it without this spacer. So what I want to do is find the wide little notch on the hub here, and then find the wide spline on the inside of the cassette and line that up and slide that on there. And it'll only go on one way. And then there's a spacer, and generally these little spacers that go between the cogs, they'll just go on. Now, there's another little cog here, and these will generally only go on one way. So here's the wide thing, so I line that up. And the way it's set up with the narrow one there, it would not go on the opposite way, upside down. So then I have another cog, line that up, and then the smallest cog, fit this on here like this, and then I've got the lock ring, and I'm going to tighten this on here like this. And let me see, there's usually a number on the lock ring here as far as how much to tighten it here. And let me see here, it's 40 Newton meters is pretty common. Oh yeah, they're right there, so it's 40 Newton meters. So I'll pop this on here like this, and I have my torque wrench here, so I'm going to tighten this to 40 Newton meters. right there. So the cassette is installed. Now I can reinstall the skewer, and remember the lever goes on the non-drive side. So slide that in, put the spring on, and put this on. Now I can reinstall the wheel here, just slide it up into place, latch the quick release skewer, reattach the brake. And now this cassette here actually goes up to 30 teeth. This derailleur is a Shimano RD5700, which the specs say goes up to 28 teeth. But from what I've read, people have used this successfully with cassettes up to 30 teeth and possibly even 32. So I think it should be okay. If it doesn't work, then I'll go ahead and get the next size, the next newer derailleur, 5701. Which does go up to 30 teeth. So, but I think this should be okay. Okay, I'm ready to install the chain. I have a Shimano chain. It's a 105 chain, and this definitely has an outside and inside. So the printing is on, faces out, and then there's like another side here. There's like a little notch in there that goes to the inside. So just make sure that you put it on the right way. And so I'm gonna get it kind of run through here. Down here like this, over the cog, run it through the derailleur, there's a little tab on the bottom side here of the derailleur cage. You want to make sure you get the chain going onto the inside of that, not on the outside. Otherwise it's going to drag along that. Okay. Make sure that the chain is sitting on the cog here. Like that. And then I'm going to use like a little coat hanger piece bent at 2 inches to kind of hook in here, and I can use this to try the chain length to see how this fits here. You see here like this. The chain is currently set up for the small. It's on the small chainring in the front and the small cog on the back. And what I want to check is to make sure that the chain is not going to drag along the bottom of this cog here. So, and that actually looks pretty good like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the chain right here, and I'm going to use a KMC missing link, which normally comes with KMC chains, but they're compatible with Shimano chains as well. This is a 10-speed version of it. And I just like them a little bit better than having to install, press pins down in through the Shimano chains. So, release this here. Press this pin out here. Get the little KMC missing link in here and just snap it together into place and pull the chain apart. And so now that's locked on there like that. Now later, when I get the derailleurs all hooked up as far as shifting, then I'm going to check to see what it is like onto the big cogs to make sure, and I can always take like another link out of there if I need to. Now I need to remove the handlebar tape so that I can replace the shifters, and I'm going to install brand new handlebar tape, so just very carefully cut through this handlebar tape a little bit to get it started so I can get it peeled off. Okay, I got the handlebars all unwrapped, and I'm going to cut the cables because I'm going to need to replace them all. So, there, and I already cut the other one, so there's that. And then I need to remove the old shifters here. And so using like a long 5mm Allen wrench, I can reach in here underneath the boot. There's a bolt in there for the clamp, so I can loosen this. And then remove this one as well. Same thing. Reach in, 5mm Allen wrench, loosen the clamp, and then slide it off. Oh. Like that. I'm probably going to have to reposition these brake cables here a little bit, so I'm going to cut the tape holding them to the bar. And then I'll just retape them after I get the shifters installed. Careful, don't cut yourself here. And peel the tape off. Now through the magic of video editing, we actually jump 2 weeks into the future. I had actually installed a pair of Shimano ST5600 shifters on here, had everything almost hooked up, almost finished, and then realized that the left shifter was broken. And so I ordered a pair of Shimano 5700 shifters off eBay, and waited for those to arrive. They're here, and so now I'm going to start over from that whole part. So instead of making you watch all the part of installing that stuff, taking them off and doing it all again, I just edit it out. So here we are. So now I've got these Shimano ST5700 shifters. I'm going to install these and just continue on from this point. So slide them on here, and then I want to just tighten this clamp a little bit so it'll stay here. And I got like a 5mm Allen wrench here. So just stick it into the side here. There's a little clamp bolt in here. So get it to where it's going to stay there where I want it. And then I have a level. You can use a ruler or a board, anything with like a straight edge. I want the bottom of the brake lever here to line up with this flat part. So I can move this up here a little bit, get this all lined up here like this. And I want the brake lever, the shifter facing straight forward, and then just tighten this down, and I can always tweak it a little bit. This is kind of the standard position, and for personal preference you can move them up a little bit, but I probably wouldn't move them too much. And then tighten this down, and I can always tweak it a little bit later. And then the same thing on this side. I'll slide the shifter on here, get it up into place here, like here. Slide the Allen wrench in here in the side here under the boot. Get to the clamp bolt. Tighten this down a little bit. To where the shifter will stay there while I adjust it. Get my level here. Slide this down a little bit. Get it pointed straight forward. And then tighten this down here. And it's always a good idea before you finalize everything, stand behind the bars, look down and make sure that the shifters are pointed straight forward, and then you can tweak them before you get everything all hooked up. Now I'm ready to install the brake cable. There's like a little cable stop in here, and so I'm going to insert the cable through here. And let me see on this side. This is dual-sided. Some of them have like a wide opening on one side and narrow opening on the other, but a lot of the newer ones have wide openings on both sides. So I can stick it through the little cable stop in there either way. And then there should be a hole in the back of the shifter here. So I'm going to put the cable in through there so it comes out the back like this. And then I've got my cable housing here. So I'm going to put this in the back. I'm not going to put a ferrule on there because a lot of times put a ferrule in there, it just doesn't work very well. It kind of jams up in there on the back of the shifters like this. So no ferrule on this side. Put the cable in through there. Put the cable housing tight into the back of the shifter and push the cable through to where it comes out the other side of the cable housing here. And I got a ferrule on this side. So I'm going to pull the cable all the way through here. And then I want, so the little metal end of the cable is fully seated into the cable stop there. Then I'm going to run the cable down through this cable stop up here, this little hanger here. Run this down through here. And then I want the cable end to be fully seated down into that cable stop there, like this. Okay, I need to remove this fragment of cable from the brake here. So on this kind, I can hold the front end with a Allen wrench, and then there's, I think it's a 10 millimeter nut on the back. So loosen that, and then slide the old cable out. And then I can slide my new cable in. Like this. And then pull this taut. Move this cable housing here. Okay, and I want to make sure that the cable housing is fully seated in this cable stop up there. Otherwise it's going to throw this off. And I can pull this tight. And then just let it out just a little bit. And then I'm going to try tightening this nut back here, and then I'll test the brakes. And that's okay, but I think I want it just a little tighter. So loosen this, pull the cable down through that a little bit. Tighten the nut again. Test the brakes. And that's actually pretty good. I like that. Feels really nice. So I'll tighten this down like this. Now bring this cable over here, kind of bend it up in the bottom there, bring it over here. There's like a little thing I can rest it on. I'm gonna clip it, leave about 1.5 inches on there, leave some room in case I want to adjust a little bit. Put a crimp end on here and crimp that on there. And so now the front brake, all adjusted there. Now with the brake cable hooked up, I'm going to tape the cable housing into the curve of the handlebar here. So I have some electrical tape. So just pull off a little section here. And I want the cable to go right into the tight into the curve here. And there's a little notch in the handlebar here, so I'm going to want it to feed right into that. Like this. And this will all be covered up by handlebar tape later. I'll hold it right there. Okay, now I'm going to do the other brake cable. Again, open this, slide it in through this little cable stop in here. Work the cable so it comes out through the back of the brake like that. And then I've got my cable housing here. I'm still using the original cable housing that I had because it wasn't on there very long. So I'll feed the brake cable into that, feed this into the back of the brake there, and then feed the cable in till it comes out the other end of the cable, and then I'll pull the cable through like that till the end of the cable is fully seated into the little cable stop there. Okay, and here's the original cable, and there's these little rubber donuts on here. They're used to keep the cable from banging into the top tube here. So I'm going to reuse these. Just slide them onto the cable here, like this. Pull the old cable out through this little cable guide here. Slide my new cable in. And then pull the cable tight in there. Okay, I'm going to unclamp this so that it doesn't interfere with the cable like this. And I'm going to leave this on there just so, because that doesn't really interfere with the cable much like that, but it'll keep the handlebars pointed straight there. And then I want to remove the remnant of old brake cable here. So loosen this. And then I can pull this out like this, and then insert my new cable in here. Loosen that a little bit. Slide my new cable in like this. Pull it down here. Get the brake cable like that. And then I'm going to pull this tight. And then let just a little bit of cable out there. Let it loosen the brakes just a little bit. And then try tightening this here like this. Then test the brake to see. Oh, I'm going to tighten this a little bit here, so loosen this. Take a little bit of slack out of the cable there. Tighten it a little bit. Test the brake, see how that feels. Yeah, I'm going to let just a little bit, just a touch of cable out. Like that. And tighten this again. Test the brakes. And that actually feels pretty good. So then tighten this down here like this. Then bring the cable over here like this. I'm going to cut the cable off, leaving about 1.5 inches there, like that. And put a crimp on here to keep it from fraying or for stabbing anybody. Like this. And there. Now I want to tape the cable to the handlebars, so get a bit of electrical tape here, and then just tape it into the curve like this. Another piece here. And then one more piece over here. Yeah, all done with the brake cables. Now I need to install a shift cable, and so I want to release this all the way here so that it would be on the smallest cog. Then I'm going to insert my cable through there like this. And then I've got my cable housing that I had from before. There's a ferrule on the end there. So I'm going to slide this in there like this and then push the cable through so it comes out the other side of the cable housing, and then we'll pull it all the way through. And then pull it all the way through so that the end of the cable there is fully seated inside there, like that. Then run my cable down through the cable guide underneath the bottom bracket here, like this, and pull it through like that. And then I'll take my cable here and I'm going to run it into the cable housing here like this, and then get it seated in there, and then push it through till it comes out this side, pull it through like that. And I'm going to adjust this barrel adjuster here, tighten it all the way in, and then I'm going to unscrew it just a couple turns. And then I can feed the cable here. And I have the chain onto the smallest cog here to start off with. And then put this into the little clamp here on the derailleur. And then I'll tighten this down. Not all the way right yet, because I want to test this to test the shifting. So turn it, and I'll try shifting up one notch. It went up one notch, 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 up one notch. Actually went up a couple notches, look there. But I test the shifting. And it looks like I got actually pretty close right off the bat. So I'm going to tighten this down here like this. And I might still, I'll probably need to fine tune the shifting using the barrel adjuster here just a little bit this way or that way. I'm going to cut off the cable here, leaving about an inch, inch and a half there, about an inch and a half. In case I have to come back and readjust this. Okay, put a crimp end on here and just crimp that on there like that. And the same thing on this shifter here. I'll press the little lever here to fully release this and then insert a cable through there like that. Pull it through. And then I want to make sure that the end of the cable is fully seated down into here like this, like that. And then I've got my bit of cable here, and I've got the little adjuster here on right in the middle. So I'm going to feed the cable in through the first section. Find the end of the cable. Slide it in like this. Then I'm going to feed this in through the little barrel adjuster, the inline adjuster. Insert that in through the other bit of cable here like this. Push the cable through till it comes through. Pull the cable all the way through the housing like this. Get this so this is fully seated here, and then get the cable, the other end of the cable, so it's going to be down in this cable stop right down here like this. And then I'm going to close this little adjuster up here like this. Now before I hook up the cable to the front derailleur, I want to adjust the front derailleur. I have the rear derailleur shifted up to the biggest cog, and I have this on the small chainring in the front. And what I want to do is adjust the limiting screw to bring the cage over so it just touches the chain there. So I'm going to tighten this a little bit. So where it just touches the chain there. So now I'll take my cable, run it through the cable guide underneath the bottom bracket, bring it up through the back here like this. Pull it tight, and then mount this into the derailleur. Pull the cable tight and mount this in here like this. There. Now I'm going to test the shifting. So I'm going to shift this up to the big ring and then back down to the little ring like that. And that seems to work. So now I want to adjust the limiting screw, let it out a little bit so that the cage is no longer touching the chain there. So just let it out just a little bit. And so that it's about maybe 1 millimeter away from the chain there. So I'll try it again. Shift up, shift down, shift up, shift down. Now I want to adjust it for the big ring here. So what I'm going to do is shift the rear derailleur down to the smallest cog and then shift the front derailleur to the big ring like this. Oh, and that's why I want to adjust it. So get the chain back on here like this. And what I'm going to do is adjust the limiting screw here so that the outside of the cage, or the cage here, is about 1 millimeter away from the chain here. So I'm going to tighten this limiting screw here, bring this in. Little too close. So let it out just a little bit. I don't want it touching the chain, but I want it to be about 1 millimeter away from the chain. Okay, now I'll test the front derailleur. So down, and then up, down, and then up. And then that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to trim the cable, leave about 1.5 inches on there, cut that off, put a crimp end on here like this, crimp that on there like that, and then kind of bend the cable back like this, so it's not going to stick out like that. And just make sure that this is nice and tight on there and not going to slip at all. And then I'm going to shift this up into the rear derailleur up into like a middle cog, and then just test the front derailleur again down to the small ring, big ring, small ring, big ring. Everything looks pretty good like that. Well, all done. I wrapped the handlebars, and so I got everything else seeming to work pretty well. I'll probably need to fine-tune the shifting, like out on an actual test ride and everything, make sure everything's working okay, but it seems to be pretty good. Anyway, I hope you found this useful or interesting. If you did, please click like. I always appreciate getting likes on my videos. It helps me out. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, click the subscribe button and you'll see new videos as they come out. I'm always coming out with new videos, playing around with different stuff on bikes. And I'm over on Facebook, RJ the Bike Guy. Go over there, like that page. And I post a lot of stuff over there. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.